In today's video, we are going to be giving you the fantasy disc golf lineup selections for the 2021 WACO Annual Charity Open presented by Prodigy Discs. Today, we're going to be giving you those lineups on the Grip6 fantasy disc golf and for the SkipAce disc golf as well. We've got two lineups. We've got a ton to talk about, so let's go ahead and jump right into the video. All right, guys, like you heard in the intro, today is the first time that we're going to be doing fantasy disc golf. I am someone who is very interested in fantasy football. I love disc golf as well, so I thought, hey, why not combine the two and let's do some fantasy disc golf, huh? So today what we're going to be doing is, and this is the first time we're doing this, so kind of bear with me. Let me know what you like in the comment section below. Let me know what your picks are, all those things. Leave a thumbs up if you do enjoy this content, so that way I know to continue to make more of it. But today we are going to be going through the Grip6 picks as well as the SkipAce picks. We'll probably start with the SkipAce picks just because there's a little bit more analysis in there. We're going to take a look at last year's finishes, what we think is going to happen this year, and so far what has happened this year. It's really, really fun. And just as a disclaimer at the beginning, don't take everything that I say for 100% fact, right? No one in any fantasy, no fantasy analyst will ever be 110% correct every single time. Our goal is to try to get as close as we can, so that's what I'm hoping to do today. And I really do think we have the best possible lineups built. Let's jump right into it and let's kind of discuss what the lineups should be. So to look at the lineups, first, what we need to do is let's look at what happened last year, right? So looking at the results last year, this is from 2020, and this was cut short last year due to COVID. They only were able to get the first two rounds in. I also believe this was the first time Brodie Smith actually played in a Disc Golf Pro Tour event, so that's really cool for him. But let's take a look at this, right? Colton Montgomery right up here at the top. He was the guy who took it down last year with a -20. Paul McBeth coming in second, Caleb Viska coming in third, Conrad fourth, Adam Hammis fifth. So, we've got some big-time names up there. Paul Ulibarri also tied for 5. Calvin Heimberg had a good tournament finishing in 10th. And let's look for, Eagle McMahon. He's a pretty hot guy right now. He finished 24th last year. There's some other big names down there. Garrett Gurthey's down there. Drew Gibson in the bottom 20s. I'm pretty sure Ezra, he finished 34th last year. Ricky Wysocki, he finished right here where Jeremy Colling did as well at 49th and 42nd. So that was a little bit of a disappointing tournament for those guys. But that's kind of where we're starting off our basis for our fantasy disc golf analysis. Right, we're looking at what happened last year. What can we take from last year and apply it to this year? So when we're looking at this year, I think that it's really a lot of, what has happened so far and what do we know about WACO that we can kind of predict going into the future, right? So let's look at what happened last weekend. Last weekend, I know it was only an A tier. It wasn't on the Disc Golf Pro Tour this year, but the Memorial out there in Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona to be exact, Paul McBeth won, -42. He came back and won on the final day. Anthony Barella was in first and choked on the final day, allowing Paul McBeth to pick up this W. Paul Ulibarri coming in second, only 3 strokes behind him. Greg Barsby, a good finish at fourth. Look at these guys up here. Drew Gibson, a top 10 finish. Kyle Klein, a top 10 finish. Jeremy Colling coming in at 11. Chris Clemens coming in at 12. Kel LaVisca, 14. Castro, 14 as well. So, that's kind of what we're looking at for there. And then we also want to take a look at what happened on the first Disc Golf Pro Tour event, the one in Las Vegas. Now, this is a little bit of a stretch looking at Vegas because they did play 3 different courses, where most of the time on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, you don't really see that. They'll just play the same course, or if it's a 4-day event, they'll play 2 days on one course, 2 days on another course. But they cycled through 3 and then played this one of the same courses on the final day. Obviously, we all know Eagle won with a just massive victory. He won by 8 strokes. Calvin Heimberg second, tied with Ezra Adderhold. Awesome. Ricky, top 5. Drew, top 10. Kevin Jones, top 10. Brian Earhart, Paul McBeth, top 10. Clint Clavin got a top 10 as well. And something I think that's really interesting here is that we've got 2 tournaments under our belt, right? We have to look at what has happened so far and project that going into WACO. WACO is a different course from the two courses that we've played so far, but let's go ahead and let's take a look at the SkipAce first. That's the one I said I wanted to do first. So if you're not familiar with SkipAce, it's kind of like the Grip6 fantasy disc golf kind of thing as well, only instead of just being able to pick your top 6 and trying to get the lowest score, instead what you're doing here is you have to actually build out a certain roster, and I'll kind of show you right here. So Paul McBeth, he's rated 1053 according to SkipAce right now. I know obviously they've changed. Maybe this will get updated in time. I'm recording this on Tuesday. Ratings did change today. Eagles now the #1 in the world. Paul McBeth dropped a solo 4th, I believe. So Paul right here, 1053. So you get 6,000 points. So you could take 6,000 rated players and see if that doesn't end up winning it for you. Or, you know, you kind of have to think and shift around. So the reason that I'm going with my first pick, Paul McBeth. Now, when you're looking at this, I believe there has to be a kind of a tier breakdown, right? We've got Ricky Wysocki, Paul McBeth, Calvin Heimberg, Eagle, and Chris Dickerson all in the 1050 range. So you realistically can only have one of those guys on your team. And I'm going to take the guy who I trust the most right now. I trust Paul McBeth more than I trust the rest of these guys at WACO. He had a great finish last year. He just won the Memorial. He, to me, is on more of a hot streak than Eagle is. Now, if Eagle performed well at WACO, that might be kind of changing my mind a little bit. But with Paul's finish last year and the fact that he's coming off a W last week, I'm going to give it to Paul McBeth here. He's going to be the one in the top tier that I end up going with. After that, you really have to think how you're going to accumulate, or I guess disperse is a better word to say. Where the heck did accumulate come from? That's literally the exact opposite. It's disperse. Where are we going to disperse the other 6,000 points? So I am going with Colton Montgomery here. Earlier, I had this up to Greg Barsby, which is literally only a 3-point change, but that 3 points meant I couldn't do something else later on. I think Greg's going to have a pretty good tournament. I think he's someone that's kind of sneaky to go with, but I think that there's too many good players. You can see me scrolling right now. You know, I'd love to get a Drew Gibson, a Garrett Gerthy, Kevin Jones, Kale. I'd love to get any of those guys in there, but even James Conrad at one point I wanted to try to fit into the roster, but I can't do that because I really want Paul Ulibarri. I think Paul Ulibarri is hot. He came into last year injured, getting over his injury. He's back to 100% health. He had a very good showing at the first stop on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. He had a really good showing at the Memorial, and when we look at what he did last year, he was up there. I mentioned him earlier. He finished tied for 5th. So I think this is somebody who has a pretty dang good chance at finishing inside the top 10 and only having to spend 1,026 points. Paul Ulibarri is the one that I trust the most out of all these guys. So that's the one that I'm going to be going with, Paul Ulibarri. So that pretty much forces me into a category of, do I want Alex Russell? Do I want Thomas Gilbert, Colton Montgomery, Noah Mitsuma, Luke Humphreys, Terry Roethlisberger? I could go with Ezra there, which is an interesting option. But I'm going with Colton Montgomery right now. The reason that I'm going with Colton Montgomery, again, last year, he did win this tournament. That doesn't mean he's going to win this tournament again this year. If anything, it's probably more likely that that's not going to happen. But he didn't play in the Memorial. He was practicing for WACO. Let me see if I can pull up the first Disc Golf Pro Tour event. The guy finished in 13th, so that's a top 15 finish. And I think when you're looking in this crowd, you're looking for someone who's going to finish inside the top 15. And if you can do that, that's going to give you 3 guys who are automatically inside the top 15, and it's going to make your life so much easier, and you're going to be able to pick up these points. Another person that the other person that I would pick in here is Ezra Aderhold, because he's coming in at 1016, so you actually get an extra 3 points to use if you go with Ezra instead of Colton. But Ezra did have a disappointing finish here last year, but obviously he balled out in the first tournament of the season. The only thing is, I want to see him continue to do it. That's really my thing. I need a couple more tournaments out of Ezra to really be about it. And if we see him do good here, then I'm going to be very excited. Last week at the Memorial, he finished 22nd after coming off of the second place finish in Las Vegas. So I think I really do think Colton Montgomery is more of a lock to finish inside the top 15 than Ezra is. In this pick, you're trying to get that person who's a lock for the top 15. I think that's what Colton Montgomery brings us. So that brings us to our fourth and final MPO player to pick. I'm going Brody Smith. Brody Smith is still under 1,000 here on SkipAce, so he's an absolute smash because obviously, in my opinion, if you're going to, the first MPO person it has to be, you got to be taking Paige here. But everyone's probably going to be taking Paige Pierce as well. So if you want to differentiate yourself, I would maybe look into Katrina Allen or Haley King, because if you take Katrina Allen or Haley King, that gives you a lot more points to then go with maybe picking up another player who's in the top, let's say maybe rated 1025 or higher. You can get another one of those guys. Maybe you could get a Drew Gibson, a Kevin Jones, a Kale LaVisca if you decided to go with one of those. But I'm going to take the for sure points with Paige Pierce, because if Paige Pierce doesn't get first, she's probably going to get second. So I want somebody who's a lock for a top two on the FPO side. So that's why I've got Paige Pierce there. And Brody Smith, only being that 1,000 rated, the 999, that's the best one you're going to get in this category, in my opinion. He has come so far in a year and has gotten so much better. And out of all of these guys here, he is the one that I really believe has the highest opportunity to get the best finish, is pretty much what I'm trying to say here. Last year, he obviously had a bad finish, but looking at the Disc Golf Pro Tour event in Las Vegas, if I can pull it up here real quick, he had a really good showing, actually. You know, he finished inside the top 25, and I'll take that. I think that he, in this category, is going to be the one who has the highest likelihood of finishing inside the top 25. That's why I have him there. To round it out, Cynthia Riccati, 910 rated. I'm going with her, because I can't get anyone else here. And I think out of the people that are left here, she has the highest upside. And I think that she's going to have a breakout season this year. And so I really like her ability. I think her game plays really well for WACO. I'm going to take her. She's kind of my sneaky upside play, along with Brody Smith, to kind of get us those points and to win in SkipAce. If you guys are enjoying this content, make sure you do leave that like rating below. Comment down, what would you pick here for SkipAce? I did kind of show you. I'll leave a link in the description below, more than likely, so you can go play it as well. So yeah, let me know what you would pick. I'd really appreciate it. Looking at the Grip6 Pick6, this is more about who's going to have the lowest score, because you don't have any constraints. So here I'm going Calvin Heimberg, Paul Macbeth. I think those two are the highest likelihood of finishing inside the top 5, followed by Kale LaVisca, Paul Ulibarri. I really like both the Pauls this weekend, as you can tell by both the picks. I think Kale has sneaky upside, and you're also trying to pick people that not everyone else has, because if you pick the same roster that somebody else picks, you don't give yourself a chance to win. So I think bringing in Kale here really kind of differentiates us and gives us an opportunity to win if he has a really good tournament. The other two that I've got in here is Paige Pierce, Katrina Allen. I think they're going to finish 1-2 this weekend. So putting both of them there, they're going to get us those points and be able to pick us up the W this weekend. But guys, that's really all we got for this episode. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this little video. Fantasy disc golf, I'm glad to be bringing it to you guys. If you did, like I said, please make sure you leave a like rating below. Comment down below what you're picking, what you would do, maybe some things you'd like to see in this. I'd really appreciate it. But that is going to do it, and we will see you guys next time.